And welcome, everybody, to another episode of Geeking Poetic Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Larry Roberts. This time variant over here to my right is my co-host and none other than
Megan Guess.
And we are here to talk about Season 2 of
Loki.
Man,
It's been a while.
Yeah, it feels like we've been waiting so long for this show. What was it, 2 years ago? A year and a half ago?
That's it?
Something like that.
Gosh, it feels so much longer.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact date of when we did the LOKI Season One recaps that we did. It's been a long time coming, and we've been so anxious for it because this was one of our favorites.
Yes, absolutely, by far.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, I haven't kept up on all of them.
True. As a team here, we have not watched a bunch of things. Like most of the stuff that came out within the last year, we didn't watch. I watched some of She-Hulk. And
yeah, me too.
Yeah, exactly. She-Hulk was cool. There was different ones, but like I never watched Ms. Marvel.
No.
And everything, although I heard it was good. And I'm not against watching it. It's just...
No, I just haven't yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Slacked off.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's hurting me right now.
It could be. I think what's mainly hurting you is the fact that you have not seen, which I have seen, you have not seen Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
I have not.
And that was important. It's pretty important going into this first episode of Season 2. But before we get into all of that, we do want to let everybody know that while we are not going to do a play-for-play recap, this is not going to be a recap show. If you want recaps, like we can recommend Screen Crush,
Rockstar.
New Rockstars, and yeah, exactly. There's so many other channels that are doing really good detailed recaps. We're not even going to bother with that. We figure that most of you that are watching or listening to us right now have seen the episode, but we are still going to get into spoilers.
Yes.
So if you have not watched the episode, then come back.
If you don't like spoilers like me, then pause. Come back later. But if you love spoilers like this one over here, then you're in the right spot.
Yeah, I do like some spoilers. Sometimes. Went into this with no spoilers because we watched it. The episode literally just ended. I didn't really have any opportunity. There was no recaps or anything to get into yet. So I just had to watch it with fresh eyes.
The rest of us, yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Going cold.
Yeah. Though there's going to be spoilers and stuff, what we are going to do here is we're just going to mainly talk about what we consider to be the highlights and then the lowlights, if any, throughout the episode. And we encourage all of you at home to let us know what you think about the show and what were your highlights of the episode. What are your lowlights? And we're going to wrap it all up with our theories because boy, oh boy, plenty of, especially so early, there's plenty of ways we can go with theories.
Just as many timelines as there are theories.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And and having theories about MCU Disney Plus shows is
that's bit us in the butt how many times now?
Exactly. That's just a road for heartbreak, But it's true, though.
It's so true.
Yeah. I'll just give you a real quick gist of what the whole show is about. Of course, we know that Season 1 left off with Loki and Sylvie facing up against Kang, or He Who Remains. Wasn't that what he was calling himself? Yeah. Again, as we said, that ended up leading into, we got to see much more of Kang in Quantumania, which this one over to my...
I'll watch it before next week.
Yeah, this one to my right, yeah, she really is missing out on a lot of that because while it doesn't completely make watching Loki impossible, it does give you more insight into Kang and what he's all...
Makes it a little less confusing. Like, what is happening? No,
not
it's
really.
Still... Okay.
Not really, and that's what I want to say.
You were kind of lost as much as I was. So like, what?
I don't know if I was lost as much as you were.
Okay.
But, and I don't mean that as a put down to you.
No, because we both kind of stopped it and were like,
what is going on here?
I don't even know where to start with this.
So, yeah, as you know, again, hopefully you've watched the episode. As you know, this is as timey-wimey as it gets. Like,
Yeah.
If you thought the first season of Loki was really confusing with how it had to do with timelines and pruning timelines and changing the timelines and all that kind of stuff, in this one episode, they've completely just been like, hold my beer.
Watch this.
watch this, because it really jumps all over. You've got Loki coming back. It left off in at the end of the last season, where Loki comes back after Sylvie kills He Who Remains, seemingly kills He Who Remains, basically kind of dooming the timeline, so to speak. He goes back to the TVA and he sees Mobius and he sees Hunter B-15, and he goes running up to them and they're like, who are you, sir? You know, like they don't remember him. And that's where everything left off. They pick up immediately.
Yes.
From that point. We see them pursuing a very frantic and frazzled looking Loki, because he's like,
what is happening? I don't understand.
Right. Plus Loki's still like all like freaked out about what just happened, because it literally just happened. You know, it's been 2 years for us.
A crazy few weeks for him, but 2 years for us to process it.
Right, exactly. And then what we end up seeing is that Loki he's like unwillingly time shifting. He's doing this weird, crazy spaghetti monster looking thing where he's very uncomfortable. I love that Mobius points that out when he's just like, it looks really awful every time he time shifts. But Loki is shifting between his present time with the people that do know him, and then going back to an earlier time, which it turns out that's what we saw at the end of season 1. Was that he was back to an earlier time.
Yes.
And then we come to find out later that he's even able to time shift into future time. So this is going on throughout this whole episode. Talk about throwing us into the deep end.
Right.
You know, they're
not going to warm us up, not going to tip our toe in there.
No.
Like, chuck us in and be done.
Yeah. There is no just, slowly wading into the kiddie pool side, They're like 10
like
foot.
me at the beach, I'm like, they're like, just dive in. I was like, no, it's worse.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. It's like somebody just picked you up and made you cannonball into the 10-foot end of the pool.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's how discombobulated I feel.
Yeah, and that is, I don't know if I want to say that's a low light per se, but it is complicating things.
Yes, but I have a feeling as we go through this, it's all going to come together and make sense. It's all like all this random crap going on. It's like, I don't even understand what's happening right now. But as the season goes on, I think it's all going to come together.
Oh, yeah, I definitely do.
And make sense then. It's like, oh, okay.
Let me ask you a question real quick. Have you watched the trailers?
No.
Okay, so see that probably...
I saw like a little bit, so I knew he time shift.
Right.
I knew that much.
Right. But see,
that's all I know.
The thing is like this first episode was really tense. Like tense from the first second to the very last second. It was super tense. At the same time, if you saw the trailer, and I mean, some people are going to say, well, we know Loki's not going to die right away because we have a whole show ahead of us.
All right.
But still, you don't know what's going to happen. Like, you don't know who could die or how it could end up.
Which Loki could, I mean, there's...
Well, that's true. I mean, to sit there, that's the other thing about this show is you can't just simply talk about people dying or living. It's like, well... Which
one? Which timeline are we talking about?
And even if you die, you could possibly live. You just turn up somewhere else.
It's a soap opera.
Well, and it is like a soap opera.
Amnesia.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they made fun of on The Simpsons when they're watching the soap operas, and it's like...
Father McGrath, I thought you were dead.
I was.
Yeah, but anyway, the point is, because of the way that we're dealing with multiverse, multiple timelines, even the thing about being pruned, I mean, we kind of found out that being pruned doesn't mean you're wiped out from existence. You got sent to that other planet with Croaky and all the rest of them, If you watched the trailer, and again, this is spoilers for some of you folks, so if you haven't watched the trailer and you don't want to know, then either pause or fast forward or something. But yeah, if you watch the trailer, you saw that there's like all sorts of stuff coming up ahead for a lot of these characters, and that there's going to be a lot more time jumping going on. We know that there's going to be stuff that happens back at like turn of the century, 19th to 20th century time and everything.
Okay.
And that we got tipped off by the after credit scene that you have not seen yet on Quantum Mania.
Okay, yes. No, I have not.
Right. So that kind of already helped, I guess, for me with a little bit of my anxiety with watching this episode and going, oh my God, what's going to happen? Because I'm like, well, wait a minute. I know these things still have to happen. So they obviously get this figured out. The point of the matter is, we're completely and utterly confused by...
Long story short. We're lost.
I wouldn't say lost. We're not lost, but it's like, wow, this is a show where you're going to have to really
pay attention.
Pay a lot of attention. And a lot of attention to minor details. Even looking at the end credits, and we remembered this from the first season, that the end credits in Loki
are telling.
Yeah, there's a lot of little hints and tells and stuff in there. There's post-it notes on the wall that tell you things, and just different little details. And those are the kind of things we're going to have to pay a lot of attention to as we're watching this show and trying to figure it out. Yeah, I mean, so the whole thing is that Loki is like time shifting and stuff. He finally is able to connect with his Mobius. I loved when he first connected with Casey. Yeah. That was hilarious. The whole jumping back and forth between Casey that doesn't know him and the Casey that does, and just how unsettled poor Casey is. Casey's happening. Yeah, Casey's a simple, easygoing guy to begin with and everything, with his Walkman and all that stuff.
It was a better first meeting than when he actually first met him.
That's true.
Cut his heart out or whatever it was.
Right. They've come a long way just in a couple of weeks, you know. He is able to finally connect with Mobius, and they are able to start trying to figure out how to not only handle Loki and getting him out of this slipstream time, slipping kind of thing, but also the fact that we're dealing with the revelation that they all had, that what it really means when they're pruning all these timelines and all this stuff, that they're like destroying
lives,
entire civilizations. Essentially, they're destroying billions and billions of lives, and that they are all replicants, right, of themselves and all this stuff, and that they're all variants. Exactly. That's that they've all had past lives and all this kind of stuff. And I love that they kind of kept making fun of that, even with Mobius making comments like, it really bugs me that I can't remember having my mind erased. It's like, well, yeah.
Duh.
Yeah, exactly.
They had so many great moments. That's one of my highlights, is the Mobius and Loki banter back and forth.
Yes, exactly. Let's just jump into what we consider highlights and lowlights. Okay. Yeah, the Mobius and Loki chemistry has not
diminished
anything.
I love them.
No, exactly. Yeah, it was so good. There were so many moments where I was just laughing. And the problem, again, I wouldn't necessarily call this a low light, but like a difficult part, like a tough part of the show, is that it's moving really quickly, and there's so much being said and so much going on, and you don't want to miss anything. But at the same time, I find myself being taken out of it for a second because I'm laughing at something, you know?
Yeah, you may have to watch it a few times.
I already planned that I'm going to watch this again.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to.
Absolutely, because I know there's going to be things that I missed and everything. And so, there's a lot to try to take in with this, but the humor throughout is so good. It's so clever. This is an example of how you can have humor in these kinds of shows or movies or whatever, and do it in a way that is really smart and genuinely funny, but it's not like pandering or playing down, like it's not silly, overly goofy, like we've complained about with some of the other movies and shows and things, where we're like, oh, why do they gotta make it that goofy? Or,
I love it goofy, but sometimes it could be a little much.
Well, there's still, it could still be smart goofy,
right?
And this is smart
what that
goofy.
is.
Yeah, exactly.
Owen Wilson's delivery
Oh, he's great.
I love that dude.
He's great. I love the character. I love the character, and I love where they're going with these characters. I really love where they're going with him. I love the fact that he's got such a bond now and responsibility towards Loki. When it gets to the scene towards the end where Mobius has to go and put his own life on the line by going out in that rackety-ass spacesuit, complete with a cracked shield
like a
and everything.
Teletubby.
Yeah. I know. I love
That
when
was hilarious.
he's telling OB that he's gonna hoof it. I'm gonna hoof it like you've never seen anybody hoof it. It's like, you ain't gonna hoof it in that. There ain't no hoofing it in that thing. You look ridiculous. But in any
It's
case,
like, that's hoofing it?
yeah, exactly. But the fact that he's willing to go and like sacrifice himself and do what he's got to do, it's not just for the good of like, the timeline and everything. It's for Loki.
For Loki. He's like, wait, give him more time.
Right, and that he really believes in Loki. They've come so far, because again, you have to remember that for us, it's been a long time to absorb this, but in the show, it hasn't been that long.
No.
It wasn't that long ago that they completely didn't trust each other, So it's really cool to see how that has evolved so quickly and everything. I love the chemistry there. I love the humor. I love the whole bit when he's so worried about his skin getting ripped off of him and everything. And then, like, you look over at one point, he's just
writing skin.
He's just writing skin in the dust on the side of the machine. There's skin? ? Like, just like, am I really prepared to do this?
Yeah, he gets stuck on that for a while.
Yeah, it's really good humor.
I loved how when they were talking to OB.
Yes.
And Mobius is like, oh, yeah, sure. And I stuck around for a while. And Obi's like, no, you left right away. And Loki kept prodding.
Yeah. Really,
I was like, oh, yeah? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, what else happened?
I know.
Like, God damn it. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Loki's just loving watching Mobius dig himself in this hole deeper and
Squirm
deeper.
a little more.
And speaking of OB, that's another one it's another definite highlight for Ke Huy Quan being in there. Oh my God. I was so excited when I saw, because I actually forgot that they said he was going to be in this. I was like, oh my God, is that Short Round? Short Round is in this now? Like, and Data from Goonies? Like, oh my God, like that is perfect. He's perfect for this show. He is a perfect casting for this show, especially. He's a great actor, period. But him and Owen Wilson, like, oh my God, they have cast this so well. I give props to the people that did that, the casting directors, all of them. Man, that is so great. And he plays Obi perfectly.
Yeah, he's really fun.
Yeah, he's a lot of...
I'm liking him a lot already.
Yes, and I'm really hoping we get a fair amount more of him. I'd love to see him helping to try and like figure things out. I'm sure he's going to factor into a lot of the tech behind what Mobius and Loki are doing to
combat all this.
Right, and travel around back and forth through time and all this kind of stuff, I mean, like there's got to be things that they're going to need. Maybe tech that doesn't already exist. Like we saw him make that temporal machine and everything to try and help Loki.
Now save that.
Yeah, now please, you built that. Now save that for me. I'll be back in 400 years or whatever it is. But so yeah, I'm really enjoying that addition to the show. I think another awesome highlight of this is the pacing of it. While it can be daunting because there's so much going on and it's a lot to process and everything, people that complain about some of the other Disney Plus shows where they want to complain about, Ahsoka or Book of Boba Fett or even some people complain about WandaVision and other ones where they were like, yeah, it took too long to get to the action and blah, blah, blah. This is the complete opposite of that.
You don't have to worry about that.
No.
That is for sure. It is go, go, go. And it's well done because it's all done on the same area. We're still in TVA.
Yes.
But it feels like you're constantly moving. And that's, again, the way it was shot.
The filming.
The movements
that
they use.
The cinematography of this is excellent.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really excellent. And I mean, like, they had to put so much thought into it. For example, another just like minor highlight, when they are following Obi down the hall and he's trying to just like explain, like they're on the go. And at the same time, he's explaining everything that's going on with timeline and all that stuff and why things are going haywire and what they need to do and what their timeline's going to be like and blah, blah, blah. And they're briskly walking down the hallway trying to
Where are we going?
Right, trying to keep up with OB, and he's got this little manual handbook thing, and he just throws it behind his shoulder, and Loki just reaches out and catches it one-handed, and they keep going. Like, they don't slow down. They just keep going, and it's like, how many times did they have to film that scene to get that just right? Because there's no cuts. It's one shot.
One solid shot. It's got to be.
It is. You can tell it's one solid shot going down the hallway. That is brilliant directing, brilliant cinematography. It reminds me a little bit, although they didn't have to do it in one shot. There's a scene in Scott Pilgrim where Scott grabs a package from Ramona and he throws it over his shoulder and it lands in a wastebasket like in the foreground, right? So he's like talking to her and he signs a thing and he throws it over his shoulder and it lands in a wastebasket. They had to shoot that, I think it was like 38 times.
Oh, wow.
Something like that, like so many times because they wanted to do it practical. Now, maybe there was something digital they did in this. Maybe he wasn't actually holding that handbook, but if that was digital, that's some of the best digital I've ever
Yeah,
seen.
it looked really good. It's kind of like us when I had to throw the pudding at you.
Oh, no.
It's supposed to hit your
Are you going to
face.
bring up the pudding?
It'll get landing in your hair.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
I tried so many times.
We filmed a segment a few years ago where we did a spoof on Jurassic Park, and it was supposed to be Megan flinging dinosaur poop at me. And that's a whole thing. If you want to know more about that, please go watch that video because it's really dumb. All of our little
They're all dumb.
All our little videos we did like
Purposely
that
dumb.
are purposely dumb and bad, and they're just meant to be eye-rolling and fun and everything. But yeah, we decided we used pudding other than we didn't have actual dinosaur poop, thank goodness. The pudding was bad enough, but I told her, like, it's pudding. Once you throw it at my face, like, there's not going to be...
You can't undo it. I can't take a shower and fix this.
Yeah. And so you completely biffed it on the first one.
I totally threw it in your hair.
She got it like in my hair down here. So I didn't have time to go clean it up. So we just wiped some of it out. And
it's okay. It's okay. It's fine. It's
we
totally
just
fine.
cut in closer so you couldn't see that part of my hair. And then thankfully you got it on the second try.
No, I didn't. I got your hair again. You're like, how is this going so badly? So I had to like physically push it down your face.
Oh, that's right. Well, you got more of it on me in the second time. And then you.
But it was amazingly hilarious. So I would love to see the outtakes to these.
Ugh. Yeah. I still owe you for that one. Bad.
Nah.
Yeah.
We're
no.
even.
Everybody at home, leave in the comments and say, yeah, Larry, you need to get Megan back for that one because there's probably all sorts of fun things we could come up with too.
You got me enough with the trivia torture, so shush. Back to Loki.
Trivia torture, yeah. I also did dump a bucket full of water and bananas on your head one time.
You did, so we're even.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, fair enough. All right, so we've talked about highlights. We might come up with some more, but I'd like to focus on a couple of lowlights. Not that there's many.
Okay.
But what would you say would be a lowlight for you out of this episode?
We didn't get a whole lot of Sylvie.
No, and I kind of wanted a little bit more. Now, we did, again, hopefully you all watched it at home. We did get to see Sylvie in the post-credits scene. We get to see that she is now in Oklahoma back in 1982. And she's walked into a McDonald's of all places.
Yeah, it looks amazing. That took me back in time. It's like, look at the tree and the chairs. It was so cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool seeing an old school McDonald's like that, especially for you, an Oklahoma McDonald's.
Right?
I was happy to see Sylvie there at the end, but I really had hoped we would get a little bit more of her. She was one of our favorite parts of season 1. Now, I know people at home, I'm sure, are screaming right now going, you're going to see so much more of Sylvie. You know it. I know. But I guess I just was hoping for a little bit more advancement in the first episode. I mean, this first episode literally covered what was probably the equivalency of about the length of the episode itself. It probably literally covered about an
Half an hour.
actual timeline, on the show, about half an hour and stuff. Like there was a lot that happened real fast. So we didn't get to see more of her. I would like to have had another thing that I would say was a low light for me. And maybe not for other people. Maybe other people figured this out or understood much better. Maybe part of it is because I need to go back and recap season 1 myself. But I felt like the whole thing when they were meeting in the war room I call it the war room, that meeting they had with the judges and stuff. And when they were talking a lot about the stuff with the timelines and the different things that were going on and everything, I felt like that was the point where I got a little lost.
Yes. I was like, I don't even understand
what exactly they're talking about.
What the problem is here.
Right. And even at the point when we saw all the hunters then going through that portal, they were with all their weapons and stuff, and they were going off, and I assumed they were going after Sylvie,
but
I guess, but
there's something more going on based on what that guy said. He's like, I think there's a little more than that.
Right. The whole thing was just, in some ways, I feel like that's where the pacing of this episode being so fast and so quick and so manic didn't allow enough time for us to really grasp some of the things that were going on. Now, again, maybe people at home...
we may have to rewatch season 1.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder if this would feel better if we went immediately from the last episode of season 1 right into this, and then maybe we'd feel a little bit more up to speed. But I was a little confused by that. It even took me another thing, again, maybe I'm nitpicking here, but just being honest with everybody. Even in the one scene when Loki is still time shifting and he sees the tape recorder there and he plays the tape recorder recording back and stuff. And I realized, it took me a while to realize what that was actually an old recording of Kang talking to Ravonna Renslayer. We remember Renslayer from season 1 and everything. And we found out that she was shady and knew all about the whole...
She was in on the whole thing.
Yeah, she was in on it and stuff. I kind of forgot about some of that.
Oh, I totally forgot about it.
Because it had been so long, and I was listening to that recording, and I was just like, what is this? Like, I don't even understand the significance of this. And I had to wait and think about it later. And I was like, oh, okay. And it's one of those things where, again, this is where this sort of, for me, fails as a season opener, because I feel like there could have been a little bit of exposition that went on to help explain some of those things a little bit more for those of us that maybe don't remember from 2 fucking years ago.
I think that's more the issue, is the big gap in between.
Right.
So we have all this time and all this other MCU stuff.
Right.
Are like, I totally don't even, especially people like me, where I don't remember after I watch it. It's like, I don't remember what happened.
Right. And I think that's the problem here. This is a low light, not necessarily about Loki, but about the MCU on Disney Plus and all that, especially, is that they've thrown so much other stuff at us in between the end of Loki season 1 and the beginning of season 2, that if you didn't go back and really thoroughly get yourself back up to speed to be ready to jump right in with this, like, you're gonna stumble. You're gonna get a little lost. So that was a low light for me, but it was just one of those things where I guess I don't really blame the show. I think the show is great, and I think it made sense doing it the way it did. It just, I wasn't prepared for it, is what it came. I guess the low light for me was not realizing that I should have been a little more prepared for it.
And the highlight is you have the ability to do that. It's not 1982
That's
where
true.
we were just like, I don't remember this at all, but now we can actually go back and watch it.
Yes, fair enough. Exactly.
You got homework to do too.
Yeah, we both do. We got a lot of homework to do. But I enjoyed the heck out of this. I am really looking forward to where they're going to go with this. Do you have any theories? Is there theories about where you think things are going to head? How is this going to end up?
have no idea.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, one of the theories, there's so much to theorize about. First of all, one of the things that was left that was very mysterious, probably the most, we'll say, mysterious point of the episode was when they're in those final seconds and Loki is supposed to be trying to find a way to zap himself so that
He's trying to find the stick.
Yeah, right, exactly. He's trying to find that and zap himself so that he can get back to the timeline, get out of the whole time slip thing and everything. And he's walking down that hallway and that phone is ringing and everything seems to slow down and he's looking at that phone and almost in this sort of like weird way, like it means something to him.
Right. He's like, I need to be doing something here. And he kept looking at the elevator.
Right.
I was screaming internally, like, go! You're running out of time. Why are you just standing there?
And then...
So again, excellently shot.
Right. And then we see Sylvie opening the doors and she looks very different.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely Sylvie, but her hair's different. She looks like she might be a little older. It's hard to tell. She's happy to see him. So obviously at some point they're reunited.
Right.
Because this is in the future.
Like, oh, there you are.
And then he gets zapped. We see that he gets zapped just in time as that happens. And they don't show us who zapped him. Who do you think zapped him?
I mean, he was looking to zap himself, so I assume it's him.
Well, that could be. Yeah, I mean, it could be him from another time, knowing that he needed to get that done.
Right.
Yeah, there's so many. That's probably the most plausible one. It could be him. I was also thinking it could be Sylvie from another time.
Oh, you think so?
It could be.
I wouldn't put it past her.
Yeah.
She already kicked him through a time portal anyway.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Well, I mean, it was a good thing that it happened. It needed to be done.
It needed to happen.
But who was calling on the phone? What was the phone ringing about?
Maybe it was Loki from another timeline telling him to go over here. It's a
right
signal.
because he had kind of stopped and he didn't know which way to go and then he heard the phone ringing and so he went that way.
Right.
But it's interesting that it just happened to be where the elevator was, where Sylvie was and everything.
It's all got to come together. Once we get more episodes, we get more information. We're gonna go back and rewatch this whole thing and we're like, oh my God, it was plain sight. It was right there. We didn't see it because we didn't know how it goes together.
But that's the fun of this.
It is the best. This is going to be like a brilliant episode once we get to the end of this.
Yeah, and this all feels very Doctor Who-ish.
It does.
Like the best of Doctor Who, like when it gets real timey-wimey and stuff, especially back in the Matt Smith days with the, with the silence and all that kind of stuff. And it got...
We don't know up from down from sideways.
Right,
we don't know nothing.
Where we're like
where are we?
It's like, wait a minute. No, it was the doctor from the future that went to the past to kill himself to do this in front of this person, but this, and then blah, blah, blah. And now he's really small and inside of android of himself and all this crazy stuff. It's feeling very much like that. So
very much.
If you're into that sort of thing, like you're into Doctor Who and that kind of stuff, boy, this is the Marvel show for you. Yeah, you know what? I think that's all I've really got to say about it. Like I said, I could pick it apart more and more, but that really highlights it. So yeah, I mean, thumbs up, thumbs down, or neutral. For us, I think it's 2 thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, this is really good.
This is going to be a fun ride.
I hope so. It looks like it. And again, I know you haven't watched the trailers and stuff, but just looking at scenes of stuff that's coming and everything. I mean, again, there's spoiler, like there's a scene where we saw Sylvie at the McDonald's. There's a scene in the trailer where we see Sylvie working at that McDonald's with bangs.
Yeah.
And everything with the old school McDonald's hat on. We're in for a really fun ride, I think, is what's going to happen with this show. So
things are getting weird.
It's going to get weird. We're going to get real weird. Weird and cool.
Yep.
But all right, so that's it for us. We will be back next week with episode 2. And again, it's not a recap. We're just sort of doing like a review discussion show, I think we're going to call this. And it'll be a lot of fun. We want to hear what you think. What are your theories? What do you know? I'm sure some of you people out there are more well-versed on it than we are. Megan doesn't read comic books. I do read comic books, but I've read a lot and it's been years with some of them. And I know that there's probably a lot of, just like in season 1, there's probably a lot of little hints and stuff in this show that it's like, oh, oh, that reminds me of something that happened in Fantastic Four back in the early 80s and blah, blah, blah.
Or this character or this character.
Right, exactly. So if you know about any of that kind of stuff and you want to tip us off, please, we welcome it. We'd love to hear about it.
Yes.
And we'll be back soon. And we just are wrapping up our Ahsoka Season 1. I'm calling it Season 1 because we're assuming there's got to be a Season 2. There better be something. But we're wrapping that up. So if you haven't checked that out, go check that out because we're coming up to the end of that. And
our Geeking Squads.
And we've got our Geeking Squad episodes where we talk about everything geeky going on currently in pop culture news. So we encourage you to check that out. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. We do any one of those and you will make us
love you forever.
So happy. Exactly. But all right, until then, we're out of here. We got to catch the next time stream onto somewhere else. So we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.